My primary call was about the last caller last week who was concerned about um, everything he prayed aloud was being turned against him and used against him for leverage.
Right. Yeah.
It seemed like in his eyes. And so that made him upset. So it's kind of on the same topic.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but that made me think about speaking in tongues. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, I had some friends. I have some friends who do it.
Yeah, so I was raised Catholic, so it wasn't really part of our what are they even catechism
Right.
and such.
It's like a
But I was also exposed to
or 7 day
some
Adventist, yeah.
Pentecostals that it was common practice in the Pentecostal church. And then I actually learned to speak in tongues at a um, youth convention where we went and saw Skillet in concert and things like that. Um, and then everybody was encouraged to learn to speak in tongues. And to an outsider, it seems like you're just speaking gibberish, and in a sense, you kind of are. But there's a lot of power putting your voice to your prayers, and a lot of people are uncomfortable using words that other people can overhear. But as you and I both believe, God can hear what's in your heart and in your mind. In Catholicism, we even one of our kind of ritualistic prayers, where we say in our hearts, in our words, and in our minds, right? And we use the cross over our heart and over our lips and over our foreheads, and because you're trying to combine all of those into your prayer.
Right.
So it takes a lot of humility and a lot of courage and a lot of faith to believe that praying aloud and just speaking gibberish, as ridiculous as that seems, is speaking tongues, and understanding that that's what you're doing, is that God can understand you, and anyone can speak tongues, I believe. And just know that that gibberish is not gibberish, it's tongues. And the reason is that you're putting your thoughts and your prayers that you've internalized, you're putting your voice behind it to make them more powerful.
Yeah. I've not done that. And I'm not sure how I feel about it, because I have, like I said, friends who do it, and I believe it's genuine, but then I've also seen people do it and I believe it's performative. Who am I to judge though? Because I don't know what their hearts are. That's just from the outside looking in.
I can see what you mean about it being performative, because there are some people who can preach in English and be performative. They don't really believe. And I think that there's a lot of times that even with like Catholic prayers, they're very ritualistic. So you might not be believing the words that you're saying at the time that you're saying them. But the point of those rituals isn't necessarily that everybody's in the same mind space and faith at the same time, but it's when you're in your darkest places where you need that comfort, those words will come back to you and you will feel that guidance.
Right. And so do you believe that whether it's gibberish or whether it's, some people be like, that's just gibberish and it's not real. And like, I've heard that from Catholics who talk about the Pentecostals I know who do it. And I've heard, like I said, sometimes it's performative, but whatever anyone thinks about it, or you think about it, do you think that vocalizing prayer, saying words or speaking in tongues has a power to it that helps shape your heart and getting the prayer out?
I feel that putting your voice behind prayer has more power to it than an internalized prayer, even if the sentiment behind it is the same. It has a much more powerful force over your own body, because putting your voice behind it, whether it's words in English that you're or in gibberish, it doesn't matter. The point is that you're using your vocal cords to empower that prayer, and God will understand it whether it comes out in gibberish or comes out in English. So if you're uncomfortable with, say, a demon understanding what the hell you're saying that you can't see but you believe is there, or if you're uncomfortable with the person next to you knowing that you're praying for them specifically, even though you don't want them to know that you're trying to pray aloud for their problem because you don't want to embarrass them. That could be a reason to speak in tongues. And then there's people that, might be performative. That's true. You can't, but they could just as easily be doing those performative prayers in English.
Yeah, and I do like praying out loud, and I make my family do it. My children do it. I think it's very important. But I will also say that some of the loudest prayers I've said have been not spoken. If that makes sense. Like I feel like sometimes I've had prayers that I don't say out loud.
But you pray them the hardest.
Almost feel like it's a megaphone from within. Sort of like how a baptism is like an outward expression of something that's a massive change from the inside. Like it's a representation of a massive change that's happened inside of you. And baptisms are important, and I'm glad we did that, but there's something I think about the quiet and strong prayer, but also I learned to pray better, and I learned to be more confident in my prayers by saying them out loud. So I'm just saying I love both. I don't know if one's better than the other, in my opinion, but I love both. And I've also seen that my kids are learning to pray better, whatever that even means, because I think there's no wrong way to pray. But at least I think what I'm saying is they're becoming more confident with praying and expressing their faith out loud, and that saying it out loud really helps. Especially if there's, if someone comes over for dinner and they don't believe, we're still saying prayer. And I know for the kids, sometimes it's a little awkward. They're like, I don't know if this person believes, or this is weird or whatever, but you got to do it. This is what we do. And I think it's good for the kids to see that, especially when it's out loud.
Yep. Some people are shy about that, about being judged by the people that are listening to them.
Got it. Just got to do it.
Yeah. But I feel like being able to speak in tongues, there's a lot of humility with speaking in tongues, I believe. Once you get past that and can use that as a talent that you can do, it does open up a lot for you, because it removes that barrier of, well, this is uncomfortable for everyone, but I'm comfortable with this because I don't have to share what I'm praying aloud with the people around me. I'm sharing it with God, and that's who it's meant for. Yeah.
And it's also sort of taboo in some churches. There's this is a thing that lots of churches discuss, different denominations, whether it makes people
uncomfortable, but I feel like people that are uncomfortable with somebody praying and you can't understand the words they're doing, it's something wrong with that person, not wrong with you.
Right. Yeah. The friends I have who've done it, I will admit, it was oh, that's strange, but this is all still fairly new to me. But
But it doesn't upset you. Oh, but no. Somebody who's possessed or something might be pretty pissed about it.
Right. And I've also, through the people I know personally, for them, it's genuine. And they are being moved by the Spirit, and they believe that. But I know these people who go to churches, and the churches say, we don't I don't know what the word is. It's not like they don't accept it, but maybe it's frowned upon.
Condone.
They just we don't do that in this church. And so it's an interesting debate.
I can understand, because it makes some people uncomfortable, and so the church might not want that done in public prayer.
But then you look at I think it's Timothy 2, they talk about what you do with your hands in church. I mean, people can debate every possible thing you do in a church.
Yeah, exactly. Some churches are very lively, and some churches are very not lively. Go to a Catholic mass and you'll understand.
Yeah. Contrast that with a Baptist church,
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little different.
I mean, very different, but I believe both environments are genuine, at least.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that. There can be people who are obviously manipulative. They're not doing it. It's performative, but I think you're going to
find that anywhere. Yeah.
In anything, even the people who are just, like you said, speaking in English and doing it, in a suit up there, those people, we've seen insane
raking in hundreds of millions of dollars on live television.
They got jets and all types of stuff. But I love that. And thanks for calling in, man. That's a great thing to think about.
Have a great night.
You too, man.